Well, welcome to the podcast, you guys.
Hey, thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Yes, thank you guys for coming out. I do really appreciate it. So we have Of Sea and Stone, Luke and Morgan Birker
Hey.
coming out. I'm going to let you guys kind of explain to everyone that's listening the band, like who you guys are, what kind of music you guys play, that kind of stuff, and then we'll kind of just roll into it from there.
Okay.
Does that work?
Sounds like a plan.
Because you guys would do a lot better than me. I'll probably butcher it. I tried in the past I had a girl come on. She has a boutique.
Mm-hmm.
Is that how you say it? Boutique, right? And I got the name backwards. It's Glamour and Grace. And I said it was Grace and Glamour. And then she corrected me. I'm like, God damn it. I'm like, I should have just let her say it.
It was worth a shot.
Yeah, so that's why I'm like, I'm going to let you guys kind of explain the music that you guys play and then we'll just kind of roll from there.
I love it.
Well, the band name is Of Sea and Stone, and that's sea like the ocean.
We do get that question quite a bit.
And we do. We're a duo, mostly acoustic duo. We play with a full band sometimes. We met on Tinder in 2014.
Yeah, I was going to get into that.
Yeah.
But I was looking on you guys' Facebook page, I think.
Yeah.
And that's actually in you guys' about bio.
Yeah.
It is.
Like that's something that like
Kind of
you guys aren't ashamed of it.
No, not
Right.
a
No.
conversation starter. It's probably one of you kind of one hand the good things that have come from Tinder, and this one of them. So
Yeah.
So how long you guys been playing now?
we started playing
Yeah.
together like right away,
Right.
a couple weeks after we met. But
So I had a show booked the week after we met, and we met in Columbia, Missouri on Tinder. I had a year or two left at Mizzou. He had just graduated. Or you were about to in a semester.
got a 4-year degree in 5.5 years.
Yeah. And so we met at his apartment. What was the thing you said to me right before I walked in, too? It was very creepy. I should have taken that as a sign, but I didn't. And that's how we are here.
Is this cringy?
I asked her if we could meet at Target, which is attached to the Columbia Mall.
Oh, yeah.
And she probably assumed I was going to take her and we get some coffee or
Yeah,
something, get to know each other.
Maybe
And I
you'll buy
pulled
me
up.
something. I don't know.
I pulled up next to her, or she pulled up. I was in my Aztec gold Mustang, and she was in a bright yellow Celica, and I just rolled down the window, looked out to make sure it was her, and I just went.
And then we drove away.
And
I
then
was
drove
like,
away.
what am I
She
supposed
followed
to do?
me back to my.
I had like a 5-second conversation with myself, and I'm like, well, I guess I'm going to go. That's what he said to do.
Why?
Committing.
Why that situation?
Why did you do that? I
Well,
still don't understand.
I wanted to meet her in public. The first person I ever met on any sort of dating app, and that Craigslist Killer documentary had just come out, and I thought, what are the chances this is like a person who wants to rob me?
This is a dude that's
Yeah.
gonna kill you. Sure.
So I was like, I want to make sure she was actually a 115-pound girl, and once I confirmed that, my fears were assuaged, and I was like, I'm just gonna.
And he wasn't thinking about me at all.
Yeah, you're just chill with
I'm
it.
not
You're just
in
like,
any danger,
whatever.
Yeah.
I'm like, I grew up here. I'll be fine. My
But-
dad's here.
Then when we got back to my apartment, we got out of the car and I was like letting her in. I'm like, yeah, I put all the knives away too because I had some knives laying out. And I didn't want you to be like freaked out
Sure.
seeing knives laying around.
You
And she's
literally
like,
said, you didn't explain it though. You were like, don't worry. I put all the knives away. And I'm literally standing there and I'm like, I can't
thought
decide.
that would be comforting. I don't know why.
I can't decide if this is supposed to make me feel better or the fact that you're talking about the knives. That makes me a little uncomfortable.
But yeah, so we started playing them. It was different then. We played in more of a band, and we definitely did more like we were more into like beachy type music then. But when we moved to Austin after we got married in 2016, we kind of refocused, became more of just an acoustic duo, and we play a lot of stuff that's definitely in like the folk Americana to folk pop type stuff. So people may know who the Civil Wars are. They were a folk duo like that, very inspired by them, but also like the Lumineers, Tyler Childers, Jason Isbell, all that type of stuff too. So it runs the gamut a little bit from like, folk rock to folk Americana.
So when you guys like met on Tinder, was like the music was obviously a connection for you guys. You guys were both already into music.
that was the excuse for sure. Yeah.
For
It was
him.
like, for me.
I was just
Like, let's get
swiping
together
on
and play
anybody
music.
that had any instruments.
And I was like, because I don't know how many people have experience with dating apps, but it's like, especially with Tinder, like everybody knew what most people were there for, especially all the dudes on there. So you're like, you match with somebody and you're like, all right, now what are we going to talk about? What's the excuse for getting together? Because I'm not the type of guy who's going to be like, hey, you want to just hook up? Like, you know.
You have to sift through a lot of messages,
especially
as a woman.
And when I saw
for a woman,
so many.
I mean, on the other side, you get to like
choose.
Yeah, to choose, and
the
you do have the screen, you know, in between you and them. So it's like, for a guy, you're just like anything that comes through.
Just praying to get one match.
Yeah, exactly. So,
so funny.
But yeah, so the music was like, okay, she does music, and you know, obviously.
But were you
like
guys
music.
playing the same music at that time, or did you, like after you guys got together, you guys were like, we should start playing music, and then you guys both liked this music, and that's what took you guys in that direction, or?
Well, we messaged about music quite a bit beforehand, before we even met, and he's like, hey, listen to this song. I think it'd be cool to practice it together and see what happens when we meet up and sing it. So it was Poison and Wine by the Civil Wars. And so I worked on like the female lead. He worked on his part in the guitar. And then when we did get together that day, that's the first thing we did. We just went and sat in his living room, and he just started playing it, and we sang it.
That was your first date?
That was
you guys
it.
Pretty
played
much.
music together?
Yeah.
That's exactly it. That
It wasn't
one
even
song.
really a date because for the first
It was more
4
like
months,
It
that
was like
we
an
knew each other.
audition.
Yeah,
exactly.
It was,
It was because we didn't date for the first, several
6 to
months
8
that we
months.
knew each other. Yeah, and so it was all.
What do you
about
mean
the
you
music
guys
at the
didn't
beginning.
date for the six?
Well,
first
because we
6 months?
like I
didn't
said,
even-
music was the excuse. So literally, it was like, hey, do you want to get together? And we like formed a band and everything.
Yeah.
And then after a while of doing that, we were like, also
Really?
we should date. Yeah.
Also, let's, I guess, date.
I kind of like you.
Yeah. I had a trip to Europe planned with this other girl I went to high school with, and
So he kept me
was
at
like,
an
I don't know
arm's
how
length.
that. I was like, I don't know how that's gonna be perceived by her. So I'm like, look, I just kind of like held her at arm's length because I'm like, I don't. It'll. If we start dating now and then I go to Europe in 3 months, either I won't want to go, or it'll be this really awkward situation. So. We started dating the day before I left for Europe. Still pretty awkward.
Sure. Hey, whatever works out.
Yeah.
I mean,
But,
obviously it worked out.
Yeah, it worked out fine, and she's a friend of ours.
And
too,
she's been a
so.
musician for she is. She's been a musician since she was little, doing show choir and stuff. I really wasn't, obviously, I sang at church when I was forced to, but
Yeah.
Did you all go together?
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, really? Okay, yeah.
But I really didn't perform. I had done a couple things publicly, but I was coaching football, and that's what I was gonna do for a living, as far as I was concerned. But actually, my parents were like, "If you want to do music, you're not gonna do." They're just like, "Do it now," because you're not gonna coach for 15 years, then be like, maybe I should do music at 45. So. I didn't graduate at 30, but you get my point. But and if music, if you decide you don't want to do that or it doesn't work out, then you can always go back to whatever else you want to do later.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
that kind of pushed me in that.
Well, that's really cool that
direction.
your parents supported you like that.
Yeah.
They
were
did
They were
that.
like-
Now their patience is starting to wear thin now. But
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. But to have people that support you like that and we're like, hey,
It's a
chase
big-
your
it's
dreams
a big
is
thing, yeah.
really big.
yeah. It's because I know plenty of people who be like, no, you're not. We just paid for.
Don't do that. That's dumb. There's no money in that. It's too competitive. Whatever.
Yeah.
And like we just paid a bunch of. I mean, I got student loans too, but they paid some out of pocket for my schooling too, and it's an investment. And not only that, but they sent me.
Yeah, they're like, we just helped you go to college.
Yeah.
And all this debt. And now
Yeah.
you're not even going to use it.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
not even going to use the degree.
And I went to private high school too, and that's a bunch more money. It's like you're gonna take all that and just throw it out the window. A lot of parents would say no, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
they
His parents
were
are
and always are very supportive. Both of our parents.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're all
We're really
very
lucky in
supportive of
that.
it.
Yeah.
regard.
Well, I think that's like the big thing. A lot of people that I talk to that are really successful, they had that. Like, it's not just like coming from money or
Yeah.
like having like some crazy skill. It was having people that believed in them and supported them and just like keep doing what you
Yeah.
want to do in life.
Yeah, especially like on that emotional standpoint of just like that support too. If other people are invested it just kind of furthers your ability to keep going and the drive. It just grows that.
Lowers the stress a lot.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
you're not like, I got 30 people waiting for me to stop my little fantasy here, you know, and they're really invested in, you know, making you as successful as you can be. So
Yeah, it's tough if you're the only one that believes in yourself. You know, it is very tough.
it can be
hard.
done, but it's makes
Yeah.
it harder for sure.
It does
Definitely
make it harder.
Yeah.
So you guys started just practicing together, started the band, and then how long before you guys like actually started playing shows and stuff?
So
week?
yeah, I had
A
yeah
week?
a
Really?
week. Yeah, so we met in January 2014. I had a show booked for the following week, and I was just like, hey, you want to like jump on this show with me? We can do like some solo stuff and then do a few songs together.
It's terrible.
And
It was a pretty bad show.
I mean, looking
practice
back,
enough.
we only had a week of practice, but
Yeah.
you know, it
was
was
fun.
it was a successful show. It's not our best show, I will say.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we've
But
gotten
it
better.
was at Gunter Hans in Columbia, Missouri, and it's like a little German cafe, and we played there. And honestly, the rest is history. Once we did that, it was just like more shows in Columbia, more shows in Missouri.
I think that's the best way to do it though.
Yeah.
Because like some people just keep trying to perfect it and perfect it and perfect it and probably never go play a show because like I'm not good enough. You guys just
Well-
get up there and do it.
Yeah, and
Learn as you
a
go.
lot of people aren't good enough. You know, if there's one thing that I wished I had done, if I'd known at a younger age that music is really what I wanted to do, because you know you go through life and you think you have these different interests and what you might want to do and everything, but truth is like people say, oh, I was meant to do this or that, but there's probably a half dozen different things I could say that about that I'd be well suited for and probably would enjoy, but I finally figured out music is the thing that I really wanted to do.
You're really pulled to.
And I
Yeah.
wish I had figured that out when I was like 17, could have saved myself some money. And because again, you can always go back to college too. Could have saved myself some money in student loans. And you just, you know, if you,
Yeah,
the
but
younger
maybe
you
if
start
you
out,
figured it out at 17,
Yeah.
maybe you never met Morgan
that's the
because you
exact
never
thing.
went to
You
Columbia.
don't-
And
Yeah.
that's exactly, and I'm sure I wouldn't have. So yes, it's all, you don't want to second guess it, but there is you know, the earlier you start at something and the more practice, when you start, you're usually not ready to do something. So the earlier you can start, the better you're going to be at it
Yeah.
earlier.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and honestly, like playing shows, you can practice so much at home,
It's a
but
different thing.
it is a different thing, and it's a different level of growth because show-wise, you have to just play and play and play, and that's what makes you better at the next show. If you never really get out there and start that,
It's not just playing. I think people, with anything that's done in front of people, any type of skill,
yeah, it's like a public speaking
Yeah.
thing.
but what you figure out is like playing music is obviously the thing that you're saying you're doing, but whether it's music or comedy or anything like that, you're entertaining ultimately, and that's why you can go to a show. And if you listen back to the video on your phone, it's like, boy, he sang that whole song flat, but you didn't notice when you're there because he was entertaining. So it's just
Yeah.
like that's the thing you can only learn how to do that when you get in front
On
of a crowd of
stage.
people.
Yeah.
and you're dealing
And you
with
can
that.
record yourself and
Yeah.
be
Exactly.
critical of yourself.
exactly,
And
and
you
you know
figure out-
like what does the crowd react to the best, and like what stories and what songs, and just entertaining wise,
Yeah.
like jumping around on the stage and just doing different things. That reaction is like that's
Yeah.
what I feed off of.
Yeah.
I love that.
And
so,
you have to get on stage to learn how to
Do that.
how to have that interaction, how to look comfortable, you know, because anytime you're public speaking or anything like that, the crowd they're all there to watch you, and
Yeah,
when
you're
you
an
get up there,
entertainer.
yeah, and when you get up there, you feel like, oh man, they're looking for every flaw, but they're only doing that if you look like you're making mistakes, then they're going to be looking for mistakes, but if you're on stage, they assume you're up there for a reason. So, you know, if you just looked at some of the dance moves people do in a vacuum, you'd be like, well, that looks goofy as hell. But a lot of times you do it on stage, it works because they don't know any
I
better.
mean, have you ever watched Post Malone dance?
Yeah,
This dude
exactly.
can't dance at all, but
No,
he's
not at
getting
all.
down up there. and
Exactly.
I'm like, whatever, man. He's Post
It's a
Malone.
vibe.
I mean, they're there to
right?
see
Yeah.
you. You gotta
Exactly.
you gotta own that. And again, the only way to figure out how to do that is to get on stage and do it. And
Yeah.
some people don't ever figure it out. I don't even know if I have it figured out, but
Really?
the
you just learn every day.
yeah,
you know?
you keep learning, and if you think you want to do it, the biggest step is doing it.
Yeah.
Like, you
Yeah.
know,
Just
it's-
jumping in and learning
Yeah,
how to
you
do
can
it.
think about stuff forever. You know.
Yeah, what's that called? Analysis paralysis.
Yep.
Where you just keep keep digging into it and keep digging into it.
Yeah.
That's how, I realized that I'm not talented. I'm not talented at anything. So I just had to like put in the hard work. And that's why I really fell in love with business. It just worked for me.
Mm-hmm.
But I realized I was getting to the point where I was reading books and I was like researching and I had like, I knew I liked it, but I was like, if I'm going to actually be about it, I just need to do it.
Yeah.
And so I just did it.
Yeah.
I
Well-
saved up enough money until I could start my own business and just,
We were talking
Never
about,
look
just before about like flipping houses and stuff. And again, that's something I mean, my dad's done construction for years, so I have a little bit of background there to where it didn't seem so overwhelming. But, the first time that we bought that house and we went over there with the keys and I'm standing there with a sledgehammer and like, I
This is
actually
a
bought
big
this
job.
thing. I have to tear all this out. Like this house has to be a different house in 8 months. And, there's nothing that really prepares you for it. You just got to do it. And you got to do your best to minimize your mistakes, but you're going to make some.
you're going to make them.
Yeah.
As long as you learn from them, that's all that matters.
Yeah.
Like anymore, like mistakes don't scare me at all. Like there's not much that even if I don't know how to do it at all, I'm not scared to do it because
Yeah.
I know that like I'm very open to just admitting when I do something wrong and learning from it, and then I'm not scared to try it again because I know how to do it. Or at
Yeah,
least
with
learn
that,
from
like
it.
failure's, not fatal. Obviously, it's, like I said, it's a learning experience, and it's just like you can just get really in your head about, everything, and like, oh, if you make this mistake, it's gonna be the end of your life, and it's almost never is.
Yeah.
That's what bankruptcy's for.
Yeah, yeah,
You can always get out of anything.
yeah. I think they said the first time you go bankrupt, you can still keep your house too. But let you keep your house. So.
Yeah. There's
That's
almost-
the positive spin
There's
I
no
always try to put on it.
consequences,
That
kids.
Yeah,
No
yeah.
consequences
Well,
at all.
and the student loan debt never goes away though.
No, that's the only
You
one.
gotta pay that.
Yeah, you gotta pay that back.
And
Or
that's because
maybe
it's a
not.
freaking government loan.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
Maybe you don't have to pay it back.
Well, Morgan, what would you be doing, you think, if you didn't follow this passion?
So I actually have my degree in atmospheric science. So back in the day, in
What is
Columbia,
atmospheric science?
I was a weather girl.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay. Okay, simpler terms.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, so I used to do the weather at KOMU in Columbia, Missouri.
Was that
And
radio or was that TV?
That's TV.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
It was fun. We did
Yeah.
a few little radio hits. Like we'd say it on the radio. It's like 1 minute, and then you do your TV slots. So you had like the 4 and the 5 and the 6, and then just depends on your shows. But I do really love it. It is a passion. It is more of a job though, where music is a passion that it's work, but it's something that it means a lot more to me, like to do every single day. So if I had to, I could always go back and lean back on my degree, but I don't use it currently.
Sure.
Yeah.
Both of us
Thankfully.
student loans, and we don't use
Yeah,
it.
exactly.
How long in was it? Like, so you guys were in Columbia, but you guys didn't stay in Columbia that long, did you? Before you guys started, like, to travel?
No,
Was that what
I
you
mean,
guys did first, was travel, or did you guys move somewhere?
No, we.
Like, where was the next step out of Columbia?
We moved to Austin.
Yeah.
So we started dating, and then we got engaged. We stayed in Columbia for a year or two,
Yeah, a couple
and
years.
then got married. And then as soon after we married, we moved to Austin, Texas, which I love Austin. I love Texas.
Yeah.
We'd
Yeah.
go back in a heartbeat, but when we started touring full time, it's so far from everything that we ended up coming back home, being centrally located. We were only in Austin for a year,
Yeah.
and started touring full time out of an RV.
Cool.
And stored a lot of our stuff here with family.
Yeah.
and-
That was the thing that really, with what you pay for rent and stuff, it was like,
yeah.
if we're not ever going to be there, and it takes 4.5 to 6 hours to get out of Texas in any direction. So,
Wow. Yeah.
from Austin, and it's like if we're going to really try and tour, we might
Yeah,
as well
if
get
you're
somewhere
touring.
that's closer.
Yeah.
What's the point of living in a place that's so expensive to live? Because
Exactly.
I mean, when you're especially starting out touring, and we've got it figured out now. We're not rich yet, maybe one day, but it's an expensive thing, and that was gas was a little cheaper then, but you're touring in an RV, and you're not sure what you're going to make sometimes. It's based on ticket sales, so you're just trying to minimize your costs wherever you can.
Yeah.
And one of them was, let's dump that apartment. But yeah, we do. If you just told me you don't have to, you're not even allowed to do anything anymore. You just get to pick where you want to live. You're not allowed to have a job. Austin would be pretty high on the list because it is. I do enjoy it. I enjoy.
Is it just because there's a
Texas.
lot to do?
Lot to do.
Weather nice?
the weather is, I wouldn't say nice. It's a little hotter than.
It
Like,
gets
why
really hot.
is Austin the next LA? Why is
There's
that?
well, for one, you've got like all of the like rivers and creeks and lakes, and it's amazing. Like, think kind of like what we have here in Missouri, but then it's coupled with a thriving music scene, a thriving food scene. Tech is like gone way up in the past few years.
That's a big one.
Comedy. It's got so much entertainment.
But why do you think everybody's pulling there?
I
Like,
think
why there over, like, why not Houston? Why not Dallas? Why
Houston and Dallas. So Houston.
Why
and
not some
Dallas
other
both.
random town?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, like,
I think honestly what started drawing people to Austin's always been like a keep Austin weird. I mean, it's always been like a little hippie town, and so I think this is just my best guess, but like I was talking about California money earlier, some of those folks started moving there. Tech people started moving there, and if you're coming from California to Texas because you don't want to pay state income tax anymore, and you go to Dallas has a lot of nice areas, but it's very it's very cowboy, very and it's kind of what you think of in Texas, and it's a little bit more it's not as hip, I guess. It's more so than 20 years ago. And Houston is a fine town. There's everything there you could want, but I honestly, as far as I'm concerned, Houston is like a gigantic St. Louis. You can go there and eat good food. It's very diverse, but it's very like, it's not cool.
yeah,
it's
there's
just
not a
not
lot
cool.
going on there.
Yeah,
there's
Austin
just, like,
has a cool
art.
factor. And I
There's-
think
there's
that's
so much in Austin
yeah.
that gives it like this eclectic.
Yeah, there's a lot of
from
art.
the housing, from the architecture, the
And I
artwork.
think what started drawing people from California in particular is there's parts of Austin, like west and southwest of Austin, the hill country, that kind of remind you of California, of some areas of California. And there's the hills everywhere.
Yeah.
There's Lake Travis is right 20 minutes from downtown Austin. So, I mean,
So
a lot of
it's
tech
an
folks-
array of things.
Yeah,
it's everything. Yeah,
it just got a unique kind of location and everything, and then once the tech money, started moving in, and it was like the cool place to go. At that point, it becomes like a self-fulfilling prophecy, I think,
Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
because at the same time, it's a great place to live, but it's not like you could get there and be disappointed with how much people talk it up.
Talk
It's
it
like,
up, that's
okay,
true.
it's not Mecca.
you got to go there and make the best of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. You still gotta, you still gotta have a job there. It's not like you go down there and everybody's just hanging out. Although when we first moved there, the first month we were down there, we were looking for jobs. We just got married, so we had, we have a huge family, so we had money in the bank. And the first month down there was pretty nice.
it was
We were
pretty
just-
awesome.
We were just hanging out at the pool, we'd hike to different like creeks and rivers and stuff
Yeah.
and swimming holes, and yeah, that was actually pretty nice.
That
If
was
you could do
fun.
that forever,
Yeah.
then Austin might be Mecca. But
Yeah.
you still gotta. It's like anywhere else. Eventually, it's just
Yeah.
you get up, go to work.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Yeah, well, that's anytime you go on like a vacation to Florida or the beach somewhere, and you're like, man, this would be so nice to just live here. And then you got to take a step back. And you're like, well, you're not on vacation
Exactly.
when you're down there all the
Exactly.
time. You have to work. You still
Yeah.
have laundry to do, dishes at home,
Yeah.
bills to pay, stuff like that. And so,
Yeah.
a lot of people. I
Somebody's
hear it
still
all the
gotta-
time, but I'm
yeah.
like, it wouldn't be like this.
Yeah,
Well,
you
that's
wouldn't
kind
sit on the
of,
beach
we had
every
the
day.
same kind of opinion too when we were in Rome this summer. We were in Europe, and it was the same thing. We're like, how could it get old to see all of this history and like so much here? But when you live there and you work there every day, you just drive past it every day.
Yeah.
It's like the arch to us now, which to some people is so incredible. But when it becomes your home, it's
I'm like,
still
why do people want to see the arch?
yeah.
It's nothing.
Yeah.
Just some
You're like, oh, we
big-
see it every day. Like,
Yeah.
it's
So
just
people
steel.
run Airbnbs in St. Louis, and I'm like, who's staying in your Airbnb? What the hell
That's
did they come here
what
for?
I think too. I'm
yeah.
like, why would anyone want to come to St. Louis?
Yeah.
I know. We
Like,
think
what
that.
I like St. Louis, but it's just like
It's
it-
fine.
it's fine.
Yeah.
It's a good
It doesn't
stopping
have that
point
cool
halfway
factor.
through.
Yeah.
If you're going somewhere else.
But yeah, that's definitely a good point. Yeah, it was so funny. The taxi driver in Rome was taking us back to our Airbnb. It was pretty close to the Colosseum, and like we had already been there that day, but then we were driving past and it's like lit up at night, and we're like, man, that's cool. And he's like, yeah, Coliseum, whatever. Like he just
Yeah.
didn't give
Yeah.
a shit.
He's like,
He drives past this 3,000-year-old building every day. Why does he care?
Yeah.
True.
But
Let's talk about the Europe trip.
Yes.
That's
that
pretty
was-
exciting because touring's cool.
yeah.
But how do you end up in Europe? How do you end
Well,
up over there?
So we had, for one, because of COVID, the 2 years of not really any music stuff, we kind of fell back and just kind of did some jobs that we know how to do that we couldn't really do since we couldn't tour. So he was working for his dad, doing remodel work, and we were like just kind of putting money in the bank and saving. This trip was like something we always wanted to do, especially when he took another woman first. I felt like, oh, it's my turn.
Yeah,
But so we had kind of the savings up, and we were like, let's do this. We want to plan to do this before we like have kids and stuff too, just because it's a different trip when you do. And so we made a plan. We went.
You guys planned the tour?
Yeah.
You got to find all the places to go.
Yeah, and actually so our original idea was to go over there and play a few shows, and then that kind of, we had some circumstances where we didn't do that, but we knew we wanted to go to Europe regardless. So even when the shows didn't work out.
So the tour was just an excuse.
Yeah, there was exactly. So.
But you guys got to make a little money while you're at it.
Yeah, might as well. But, and well, really not even make money, just write off whatever we could on taxes, because then it's a business trip. So, yeah, so we had, like, we started setting the whole thing up, and then, got all the flights booked and figured out where we wanted to go. And then we had somebody helping us kind of find places over there. And
because that was a question I was wondering. I was like, how do you know?
Well, we didn't.
Where to go, places. You found someone over there?
Well, we have
we have a friend who's from Ireland.
Yeah.
And so we were kind of chatting with her, and she works with another company. We have a booking agent, and she works with another company who's like friends with our company, I guess you could say.
How'd you meet this lady?
Booking conference. Yeah. Booking conference so we play colleges, and because of the nature of how these colleges book their shows on campus, like if they have an event, like we're gonna have a student activities is gonna have a bunch of booths and stuff, or maybe they just want to have a band in for something. They have all these different conferences that they have to go to these conferences, and booking agents interface with the people who book the stuff at the schools, which a lot of times is student run. And then, so it's these gigantic conferences that are all over the place.
Yeah.
And we met her at one of those through our booking agent, and they're all sweethearts. But yeah, she's from Ireland, and so we started kind of going through her to do it. But then we had all the stuff like booked to go over there. Which again, we were going to do it no matter what, but we figured we might as well book something while we're over there. And then not long before we were due to go over there, she had some stuff go on in her life that just, took precedent over that.
This lady from Ireland.
Yeah. So, and she lives here in the States. But basically that the whole music part of the trip kind of mostly dissipated because, again, we had no contacts with stuff over there, So, but we were like, hell, we just grabbed our guitar and went over there anyway. Because, like I said, the flights were booked at that point, and we were there for
a month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was a really good time. We had, we have a few friends over there, like some friends in London.
Yeah.
So you just get a hold of them, say, hey, can
you
come visit?
Yeah.
And we flew into Lisbon, Portugal. Went from there
one of my favorites that we went to.
Went from there to Ireland, up to Scotland, down to London. And then across to France, and from there we flew to Croatia, then back over to Italy, a few places in Italy, and then Spain, and then back to Lisbon to fly out. So yeah, it was a whirlwind. It was not a great time to travel, just because of the flights and stuff, man. Like
we ran into some troubles, but
busy. Everyone's short staffed. But. Who cares at that point? Yeah.
It worked out. Yeah.
Our first flight out of St. Louis, we had a connection from St. Louis to Philly. That flight got canceled, and we had to go through a bunch of bullshit to get rebooked on another flight to get there that day.
Yeah, we had to book like 2 other flights with a different airline to get to Philly, to run across the airport, to barely make our flight. Yeah. It was a little hectic. So in the grand scheme, I'm like, you know what? I'm very grateful that everything happens for a reason, because there were so many things like that where you add the show aspect into it and the load-ins and sound checks.
If we had been able to book a full slate of if we had been able to book the full slate of like shows we were trying to do over there, we would have missed a bunch of them. Basically.
It would have been
like,
a lot.
you know, we realized
Yeah.
that it was a little bit of a blessing in disguise on our end. So we, but yeah, and our
I can
whole
see how that
motto
could
was
be
just
super stressful.
Yeah.
too.
I
Because
mean,
isn't
this
it
is-
just from Philly to where'd you guys fly into?
Lisbon,
Lisbon.
Portugal.
yeah.
Lisbon?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Is that how long is that? 13 hours? 14 hours?
Probably. I could never tell because the time zones get me, but
Get you all jacked
Yeah.
up.
yeah,
Sure.
But it's a long time on a plane, and just then you go over there, and so like when Garth Brooks goes over there and you make a bunch of money over there, then you owe taxes in all those different places
Oh,
too.
yeah.
And now obviously we don't have millions of dollars riding on it or anything, but I think the limits are not very high before you're paying taxes in those countries, and then now you're figuring out another country's tax codes, and it's usually more. It's a logistical nightmare. It's something that'd be fun to figure out, but
Yeah.
Financially, it's cheap once you're over there, though, right?
it is right now
Yeah.
in particular.
Yeah,
The-
especially the dollar actually, or I guess what
Like
was
the
it, the
exchange?
euro?
Yeah.
Yeah, the exchange rate, the dollar and the euro were just about even,
when
which
we
is
were there,
pretty
it was,
wild.
it's actually down to like I think at one point it was $1. It actually the euro went below the dollar for the first time just like last week. But when we were there, it was about $1. Euro was about $1.05. So
Yeah.
it was as cheap as it had ever been to be over there and buying stuff.
And the flights over there, just because transportation is so different than in America, flights are so cheap. You can go for like $15 from Portugal to Ireland.
Wow.
It's insane.
If you don't have,
just
if you don't have
like
much
a
luggage,
purse,
we had a little more luggage.
we
but-
upgraded for $25 though, and that still brought the flights. Like,
Yeah.
For like your
so
guitars
cheap.
and stuff.
Yeah,
you.
Yeah,
have
we had
to.
to buy a seat for that, but when it's so
You have to
cheap,
buy a
Yeah.
seat for that?
Yeah.
it was cheaper to buy another seat than it was to check it. So
yeah.
But they'll let you just bring it on.
yeah.
Yeah.
Whoa,
We
that's
just bought
We
kinda
three
just
cool.
seats
strapped
next to
it
each other
in.
and
They
just-
have little seat belts for them and
Yeah,
everything.
yeah.
It was
That's
fun.
amazing.
It was
But-
kind of cute.
But yeah, it was. It's just different over there. Other folks can go over there and decide if how
That's
they
for
do
them,
things
right?
over there is for them. Yeah, some people are like, oh, we should live more like them. I'm good with a lot of the way things work over
Yeah.
here, but it's very different. And it was a super fun time, and it was something, as we get older and think about having kids and stuff, it's like, what do we want to do? What do kids make harder? Well, you're not gonna be traveling every 2 days
month
through
in
Europe.
Couldn't do
Yeah.
that.
It'd be crazy.
Yeah.
It would have been.
Crazy.
Especially when you're in each country for like 3 days, 4 max.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them 2 days. It was wild.
Yeah.
The countries are like states over there,
Mhm.
right?
Yes.
Though? So you can just drive. It's
Yeah.
5-6 hour drive to another.
You
Country.
can.
You can, but if you rent a car, there's
There
a
are
lot of
sometimes-
restrictions
yeah.
between countries.
It, well,
Oh, you
it
can't even,
depends.
like they don't
You
want you
can
driving it.
No, you can drive it. It's just you have to
fee.
watch and now with everything being
How
low
do they
jacked.
know though? They got a tracker on it. or
Yeah,
something? Do
GPS
they?
trackers and stuff. They used to not be that way. You just tell them I'm just gonna stay in. So if you want to drive from Italy over to France, like southern France, it's a short drive. From Genoa, Italy to Nice, France is like a 2-hour drive, but now that they know where you are, when you cross that border, there's a fee, and I could never figure out what that damn fee is. So we ended up not renting a car. And honestly,
So how'd you guys travel around?
planes, trains, automobile, actually just planes and
Planes,
trains.
trains,
but-
taxis.
Yeah, but yeah. So we flew between a lot of places. We took a train between Edinburgh and London.
Yep.
We were supposed to fly from from London to Paris, but our flight got canceled. So and then we tried to take a train, and those were all booked. So we got on something called a blah blah bus.
Oh, that was an
The
Which
experience.
is-
what? The
which is-
blob?
yeah.
What?
That was an experience.
It's not a real thing. We it's basically like
Blah blah car bus.
yeah, it's
So
basically like it's like
Blah blah.
Yeah.
Car bus.
It's like Airbnb for, well, it started out with cars. Like if you were driving from here to Kansas City, you could post on blah blah car.
Oh, this is an app.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know why in my head I was picturing like those. I think they're in France, the double-decker buses where you can sit up on
yeah,
top.
they're-
That's
they have
that's
them all
what
over
came
the
to my
place,
head
yeah.
for some
That's
reason.
so funny.
Those are over there.
That
but
makes
no.
sense because blah blah blah. They're like
Yeah.
tour buses,
But
tour.
no, it's like if you were driving from here to Kansas City, you could post on there and say or say you do that every week for work.
Mm-hmm.
You could say I drive back and forth. So if anyone wants to ride along, basically,
And they make a little money off
Yeah,
it.
you pay me $30 and you can hitch a ride with me to Kansas City. And but they have that for buses over in Europe. And so basically these folks, like the guy who drove us, he just has a bus, like a coach bus, and he drives back and forth between London and Paris, and he gets on the ferry across the English Channel and stuff. And so that's what we ended up having to do. And we actually missed the bus we wanted. We got on one that took 12 hours.
Well, we were trying to book one that was earlier, and so when this flight got canceled, it was like all hell broke loose in the airport. It was insane because they didn't have flights for 3 to 4 days, so everyone was stranded, and all the trains immediately got bought up. Everyone was basically, it was a competition of who can type their card in the fastest to get the transport.
Whose phone loads the fastest?
Yeah.
Exactly.
So both of us were trying to buy stuff, and then we missed that early bus. But once again, blessing in disguise because that
I
bus
was
never
pissed.
showed up.
I was pissed.
Oh, and
when
he
we
was
missed
like
two of
yelling.
them.
He's like, "This is how did we miss this?" Ah, like freaking
I
out.
was pissed.
And then we get the noon bus, which puts you there at like midnight, so it was late. But that was the only bus that showed up that day. So
Yeah,
thank you.
there were 7 blah blah buses that day going out of King's Cross Station in London, and only one of them ever showed up, and it was ours. And then
Wow.
we were like, the people from the other earlier bus, there was a bunch of them lined up, and they were like thinking, well, we'll just get on this bus. And the driver was like pushing people, and we're
It
like
was wild.
throwing
Really?
elbows to get through the crowd and stuff, and people were
Dang.
trying to block
They were
the
like
bus.
blocking the door, and I was like, "We have tickets."
There was
Like,
this group of 3 ladies who were like in their 50s, and one of them, she would not stop running her mouth, not at us, but because I put their stuff underneath the bus, and then there were people trying to get on, and she was just like, "Get the fuck back! He gets on the bus before anyone else!" Like she was freaking out on him. Thought she was gonna punch someone in the face.
She was like a driver
Yeah.
or something?
No.
She was just someone trying to get on.
She's just a hot-blooded Atlanta tourist.
Wow.
because I got on, and
Yeah.
he was helping because there were so many people that like you couldn't get your bags. There's like undercarriage storage or whatever, so he was putting their bags down there for them, which was very, very nice. But I was like, if he doesn't get on this bus and I end up in France alone, I'm gonna freak out.
Yeah. Yeah.
So she was like, "No one gets on until he gets on." It was
Yeah.
just the
She
most
was about to
wild.
drop
she was
kick
backing
somebody.
you up.
Yeah,
She was
yeah, you were
supporting
back.
me.
Yeah, she was
I
about to
was
drop
like-
kick somebody, man. She was.
I was like-
That's pretty cool, though.
It was cool.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah.
She was a funny gal.
She was. So it was a really fun trip. It was a wild trip. I'm definitely grateful for a lot of things that worked out for us just by happenstance, especially when things started to not work out. But yeah, so we got to see a lot of history. We got to have a lot of food and drinks and
How many
try things.
how many shows did you guys actually get to play? Because you guys said you didn't get to play a whole lot.
No, we just did like a lot of promotional stuff. So we
Yeah,
did like a lot of videos and like stuff in like streets.
Impromptu
and-
stuff on the like streets
Yeah.
and stuff like that is what we ended up doing.
Oh, that's pretty
Still
cool.
don't know how it's. I'm not sure if we're able to write it off or not, but maybe we'll
No.
try.
I'm
Come
sure
get
you
us,
can
all right.
somehow. Yeah, I'm sure you can somehow.
Yeah, so we ended up doing a lot of that type of
Yeah.
stuff, and just kind of made it work. But yeah, it ended up, like I said, it all worked out probably for the best, and that's how our travel usually goes. You know,
Oh,
stuff.
gosh.
We have an uncanny ability to have things go wrong in just the right way, sort of. But
Yeah.
Sure. Dude,
Yeah.
I'm the same way. I went to Miami this past year.
Really?
And I got a flight into Miami. Never been to Miami in my life. I just always wanted to see it because everybody talks about how cool
Yeah.
Miami is. And I like to go to the beach in the summertime or in the winter time because the winters in Missouri, I feel like just keep getting longer and longer
Yeah.
and longer.
Yeah.
And they're gloomy. Like
Yeah.
I start to like not get depressed, but it definitely brings me down a little
Yeah.
bit.
right, yeah.
And so I just started to learn. I'm like, I need to take a break somewhere between like December and like January, February. That's where I try to take a
good
break.
time.
And I used to go to like top of Florida, like Gulf Shores or
Yeah,
Destin,
yeah.
but it's still too cold. And I'm like, I'm not going to the freaking beach and not going to be able to get in the water.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sucks. And so this year I was like, where's the farthest south I can go? And Miami was basically that. I wanted to go to Puerto Rico, but the flights there were expensive. Everything
Yeah.
was so expensive. And I was just like, well, Miami would be cool to see, just
Yeah.
Yeah.
to see it.
It's basically Puerto Rico, from what I understand.
It's a little cheaper to go there. But
Yeah.
so I fly in, get a flight, fly in. It's a later flight. I land at 5:00 in the afternoon in Miami on a Friday, And I had booked a car. Like whenever I was buying my tickets, you know, like Expedia or whatever, they're like,
Yeah,
would you like
yeah.
a car, rental car right there? And I'm like, yeah, so you get
Yeah.
a discount.
Yeah.
So we fly into Miami. It tells us to go to whatever shuttle. They take me 20 minutes off the airport to this building, and it's a self-automated like
What?
enterprise thing. Yeah. And so like nobody's there. The bus driver that shows me over explained, he's like, go in, walk around the corner. You press a button, the screen pops up and it drops your keys out. Like they talk to you, drop the keys out. Everything
I've
like
never
that.
seen that.
Me neither. And I'm in Miami, and it's, you know, Miami's no different than any big city.
Yeah.
You know, and it was like,
kind of shady spots.
yeah, it's a little shady.
Yeah.
You know, it's like just, yeah. It's not,
Yeah.
I'm not exactly comfortable with
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And it was 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock at this point. And I'm like, whatever, you know, obviously it was obviously something. And so I was like, hey, we'll figure it out. So we go in and I click the button and I talk to the guy, and come to find out, they gave my car away.
What?
They gave my car away.
No.
Yeah, and
How?
so I'm like, that's what I'm saying. I'm like, I booked this car a month ago for a week.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, since the pickup time was noon, and he's like, you didn't show up at noon, so we just gave it to somebody else. And I'm like,
No.
I rented it for the week. Shouldn't I get it? If I wanted to leave it sitting in the parking lot for a week,
Yeah.
shouldn't I be able to do that? It's my car
It's mine
for
for the
1
week.
week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was pissed. I'm freaking out. But what do you do? Because this
Yeah.
guy's on a computer screen. What am I going to do? Just
Yeah.
yell at this computer?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
there's nothing I can do.
Yeah.
You can just hit the off button.
Right. Yeah. He's just shut it off.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I'm in Miami. I've never been here before. And I was like, it's getting late. I was like, I have all my luggage. I was dating a girl at the time. We brought one of my friends that would work with me a lot, and we wanted to bring him along. Just you know, like I realized, like, hey man, I want you to come along. I appreciate all you do for me. And so we're all three standing there with our luggage in the middle of Miami, like, what are we gonna do? They said they didn't have any other cars to give me, and I'm like, I was like literally just like, it was just like took it out of me. I was just
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
I was defeated.
Yeah,
Like I didn't know what to
screw
do.
this. Yeah.
And so I'm like, well, I'll get an Uber.
Yep.
I already had Airbnb booked. I was like, I'll just get an Uber. I'll go there. We'll figure it out tomorrow.
Yeah.
I figured I could get a car
Yeah.
in Miami on a Saturday.
Yeah.
But it is kind of stressful thinking like on a weekend trying to get something because some places
Yeah.
aren't open.
Yeah.
So yeah, I get an Uber, and then this is when I found out that Miami is not, well, everyone comes up from Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
Or Cuba.
Yeah.
You know, so English isn't the primary language.
Right.
there.
No.
And so I get this Uber driver, and I'm trying to talk to him, and he's like speaking Spanish, trying to tell me, he's like, I speak no English. And I'm sitting there talking to him, and it took me a little bit before I realized, I'm like, oh, you can't understand me. And so I thought it was just kind of weird. I was like, it hadn't even clicked yet. Well, so we go to our Airbnb. Dude, it was just a disaster of a trip, really. At the beginning, it was all a disaster. So
There's a reason why you're single now. There's a reason why you're single now.
yes,
Where
yes,
it started.
God.
yes. And so then we go to my Airbnb, had it booked, looked super nice on the Airbnb, everything like this. Well, they had worded it like really nicely, and I'm literally downtown Miami, which I was fine with that because I
Yeah.
wanted to see downtown Miami.
Right. Yeah.
And I couldn't afford South Beach because that's like it's expensive.
Yeah.
But we get there, and like it has like check-in instructions, like where to get the key, the
Yeah.
passcode, everything like that. Well, then when I'm going through it, and it starts telling me that they're like, oh, and this is your section in the fridge, and this is your section of the cabinets. And I'm like, what
no.
the hell's going on here? And then they're like, this is your section of the building. Well, it was a shared Airbnb, and they had worded it really like just perfectly.
So
They
that you
didn't-
couldn't tell.
yeah, I just didn't, because I had never done anything. I didn't realize people shared a house like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it was like everybody shared the living room, the bathroom, and then there was 2 bedrooms on each side of there was 3 bedrooms in there, and you got your bedroom basically. And so I was like, what the hell? Like I was not expecting it, but I was like, screw it. But there was people in there. It was
Yeah.
so weird.
Yeah,
But
very.
I was already stressed out from the flight, the car,
Yeah.
everything like that. I'm like, let's just go get some food
Yeah.
and get some drinks. But I ended up, I was so mad because like it was a trash place too. It was absolutely trash.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to stay there, but they ended up giving me all my money back.
That's good.
Yeah. But then, so that next day we get our money back. I just looked up hotels in Miami because I'm like, I'm in Miami. I'm like, I'll just pay the extra money.
Yeah.
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 So I went and got a car, booked another hotel on South Beach. It was expensive, but I'm like, at least if we're gonna be here, let's freaking enjoy it.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
And this is
Yeah.
where we're going to be at. So I can't remember what the place is called now, but yeah, we go and pay for the room. but you can't check in until 3 o'clock. And I'm like, that's fine. We'll keep our bags in the car. We'll go to the beach, hang out, and we'll check in at 3. Well, 3 o'clock comes around. We get our room key, go up to our room. I swipe the key. I find my room, swipe the key, open the door. There's somebody sleeping in the bed.
No, there's not.
Yeah,
no,
there's somebody sleeping in the bed, and there's shoes on the floor. And I'm like, I instantly close the door, and then like my girlfriend at the time, and then my friend Jimmy, he's behind me, and I just like I close the door, and I'm like, there's somebody in there, and they're like, no way. I'm like, I was like, I think we had the wrong room or something. I was like, I don't know how my key just opened the door, but we had the wrong room.
Yeah.
And they're like, no way. And so I'm like, check for yourself, but there's somebody in there. So I give them the key. They open it up. Sure enough, there's a freaking dude sleeping in the bed. And we're like, okay, this is weird. So we go downstairs and we're like, hey, I think you guys gave us the wrong key or something because there's somebody in our room. Turns out it was a hostel. And yeah, so it's shared living quarters. Again, and we're like, we were not told this was a hostel. Nobody told us. And like, they didn't tell you when you checked in this morning. And we're like, no, nobody. We would not have got this room if it was shared.
And why would you share the room? Were there other beds in there?
Just to save money.
Oh,
I mean,
was it like a hostel, like multiple beds in there?
Yeah, it was bunk beds.
Okay,
Yeah, that'll get you.
We had to do that in Europe, and it was not my favorite.
If I was prepared for it, like if I knew that's what I was going to do, stay in a hostel, share it to save money.
Totally.
I'd be fine with it.
Right.
But I wasn't doing that.
Yeah.
I wanted to get an Airbnb because we were going to make I was on a diet at the time.
Yeah.
A very strict diet. So I was wanting to eat certain breakfasts every day and we were going to try to save some money that way. And so we ended up getting our money back and now it's 5 o'clock in Miami.
Another day
on Saturday. And so we're calling every hotel and they're basically just laughing at us.
Really?
Yeah. They're like, it's 5 p.m. on a Saturday in Miami. They're like, there's going to be no rooms
you
anywhere.
Gotta go sleep with that guy.
Yeah.
Oh,
I was like, well, screw it. Let's just go up to Fort Lauderdale. You guys ever been there before? Yeah. Beautiful. So we went up there. We ended up, actually the hotel was on the main strip, but it was called Hotel Motel Fort Lauderdale Inn. You know, like the song?
Hotel Motel.
Yeah. And you call and it's the instrumental. When you're calling, it's the instrumental to that song.
That's amazing.
And we ended up meeting a guy there. I can't remember his name, but he was from Europe. He was ended up being super cool. We basically hung out with him the whole time we were there.
Yeah.
It was just fun. It was a lot. Like after we got through all that crap.
Yeah.
And we were the last room in that place, and it you could tell it wasn't even a room at one time, and they renovated it to make it a room. But hey, it worked out.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
We had to power through a lot, but yeah.
That's wild. So it's not just us.
Exactly.
You have travel luck too. That's not really the best.
Yeah, we have. We had a similar thing in Memphis. We were down there for a music festival. Flew in some of our friends. Our mandolin player rode down with us.
No, he drove he drove separately.
I think he flew down there and then drove back.
Where were you guys going?
Yeah, we were in Memphis for a
Yes,
music festival, and he flew down there, and then we picked him up, and he drove back with us. That's what it was. Anyway, doesn't matter. But yeah, so we go out the day it was the night before we were actually supposed to play, and we kick off. We've had 2 sets at this festival. The first set and one of the last sets that night, and so we were all trying to get like a decent night's sleep because we were out at this other thing beforehand.
Yeah, so our drummer flew in from Austin with his wife, and we drove down because it's not that bad from St. Louis. And then our mandolin player flew in. So we had
them all up.
Yeah, and we picked them all up in our car.
We got this Airbnb, and we were like, oh, well, I'll just stay at this Airbnb. It was close to downtown where this festival was, but it was like 2 bunk beds and like a single bed. And so we were all going to share
That's fine for a band. We were like, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
And we were laying in bed, and we were all just sitting in the room bullshitting, actually. And our buddy Adam, who plays drums for us, he there was a knock at the door, and he went out there and opened the door, and the guy was like, hey, I'm Ivan or something like that. He's like, I need to come in. He's like, yeah, I don't know. And he just closed the door, and he didn't think to lock it. And he also didn't think anything of it. Like, I told him to go away. I'm sure he will.
Yeah.
So we go back in there, and next thing you know, we hear the door open up, and then the lady who owns the Airbnb, she has it's like a 2-story thing. So she was upstairs, and all of a sudden over the
there's like a baby
intercom,
monitor.
yeah, she
camera.
had a baby. Yeah, she had a baby monitor, and she's like, Ivan, you motherfucker, get out of here. And we're like,
What is
that
happening?
about?
And we were
she's
just like barriered behind the door.
Yeah.
Igor. His name was Igor.
That's what it was. And
Igor.
he was
Yep.
like, he was blitz drunk. And he was like, I'm just going to sleep on the couch. He's like, no, you're not. I will come down there and I'll fucking shoot you. I will kill you if you don't leave my apartment. They had a screaming match.
At,
What
like,
was it? Who was this dude?
He was just
some,
a dude
some
who was
random
milling
guy.
around the apartment, like the apartment complex. And apparently,
Somehow
like,
she knew his name.
she knew his name. They must have seen him at the pool or something.
he
but
must come around often.
yeah.
And we were like, all
we were
like,
like-
mind you, have this
we
festival.
accidentally let him in. Our drummer
We
did.
didn't let him in. He opened the door.
He opened the door, but we left the door unlocked, which I guess is our fault. But
That's
yeah,
Adam's fault.
That still doesn't
Yeah.
warrant someone just walking in your house.
she was just screaming at this guy
Yeah.
for like a half hour.
No, it was a long time.
That's kind of traumatizing.
It was traumatizing. We were
Oh.
like, should we call the police? Should we, especially
Yeah.
with the like threats, we were like, I don't know what's the situation.
Adam's wife Amanda was like,
About to
literally
lose it.
like, she was like, what? Because like, she doesn't do these things. She's like, this only ever happens when I'm with you guys. Like this type of shit only happens when I'm with
We
you
have, like,
guys.
real bad luck.
And yeah, and finally, the funniest part was like she was like threatening to shoot the guy, and sounded dead serious. Like you get out of my house, and everything. And eventually, he wore her down, and she was like, "You can sleep on the couch." And we're like, "Hey, lady, like we paid to stay here. We're not gonna let a homeless guy sleep on the couch."
Oh, not on,
Yeah.
on your guys' couch, not on her
Not
house.
upstairs.
Downstairs.
Not upstairs on the couch
Outside our
outside our
door.
room.
Like you got
Yeah.
like you guys didn't have a say in it.
No,
yeah.
we
And
never
I'm like,
said-
we paid.
The fucking guy slept on the couch all night. We got up the next, finally got to bed at.
The dude slept on the
Yeah.
couch.
Yes.
We got to bed at
Outside
like
of our
4 in
room.
the morning.
No
finally.
way.
We-
I would literally drug him out by his ankles.
It was terrifying.
We got
And
up the
so
next
of course
day
we
to-
didn't sleep well
yeah.
at all, and that was till like 4 in the morning, and we only got a couple hours of sleep because we had to be there early.
Yeah.
What if this dude was
We
like
get
a killer or something?
know,
That,
right?
That was what we were thinking.
We were like nervous.
so
You even messaged her and were like, "Hey, is everything okay?"
And she was just like, "Oh yeah, ha ha ha, it's no big deal." I'm like, "You just threatened to kill him." Like, so
Yeah.
Do you think we can't hear
We
you?
have a homeless dude sleeping on his couch right now.
It's sort
Like,
of
we
a
should
big
get some
deal.
money back for this.
Yeah.
Did you guys get your money back?
No, dude, we're such.
You
we're
guys
such
didn't-
We didn't even
pushovers.
ask.
We didn't get our money back. We gave her a 4-star review, Ryan. That's what we did.
You guys are good people. You
We're
guys
not.
are good
No,
people.
we're not because we did that to the next people that stayed there. You know, somebody else
Yeah.
stayed there because we couldn't.
Well, I wonder
'cause
how
we
many
didn't wanna
times.
be mean.
I wonder how many times freaking. What was his name?
Igor.
How many
Igor.
times
Yeah.
Eeyore slept on this couch?
Dude.
It's probably an every night thing.
Yeah,
Probably. It sounds
It
like
was
a
something
running
else.
fight between
He
them.
was still. That was the other bitch of it. When we go out there after we're dead tired, having to go to play this set, and Igor's just on the couch, just sawing logs, man.
Yeah, he like
Jumping
lifts
around
his
like,
head and he's like, "Hey guys."
Hope you sleep well.
And then he goes back to sleep, and we like left, and I was just like, I don't even understand what just happened.
What a crazy.
Yeah.
What
was-
a crazy
But yeah.
event.
It's
It
always
was
something like
wild.
that.
There's always something like that with travel, especially when we travel so much. Man, you get a lot of stories.
Well, it's just crazy to get away with something like that too, because
Yeah.
like, you see some Airbnbs where like just the floor is dirty or the walls are dirty, and people are like giving them 1-star reviews.
Oh,
Yeah.
for sure.
And then here you guys have a homeless dude literally just walking into you guys' house and sleeping on there, and you guys give him a 4-star.
Yeah, we
That's
probably shouldn't
nutty.
have done that.
Like there was
No.
a homeless guy on the couch, but other than that, it was great.
I was so mad when I went to Miami and I had to share that place.
Yeah.
We went out for a couple of drinks. So, I mean, the alcohol was part of it too, but I was
Yeah.
like, I was heated.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm not staying here.
Yeah.
I'm getting another hotel. But we stayed there one night.
Yeah.
That hostel life is definitely different.
Mm-hmm.
It's we did that in Europe a couple times. I had done it the first time I went to Europe, and it was like, this is no big deal. But I was 23, and it wasn't a big deal. But now, married, it's like,
Ugh, I hated it.
yeah, this kind of.
I mean, it was okay because
Yeah.
we were prepared for it, and that's fine, and it's cheaper, and it's
Still
like
sucked
right
for
in the middle of everything, so that's awesome. But because we're married, you have to get a co-ed room. So and generally,
It's just
not very
dudes.
many women pick that
Yeah,
room. So it's
no.
usually me and like 6 guys
Yeah.
in there with him, obviously. And we have like the same bed. And I mean, honestly, I had no problem at all. Everyone was very kind and no weirdness, like nothing uncomfortable. But it's just weird.
It is
for-
hostels are kind of weird things.
Yeah.
To even think that they're even legal.
It's a very European thing for
Mm-hmm.
sure. It's like, they share a lot more space over there.
Well, yeah,
Again,
and things are a lot smaller.
that's what
over
you want to do. That's fine, but I enjoy air conditioning and my own space personally. But
They don't have a lot of air conditioning
there.
over
So
there?
that's why we had to stay in a
No, dude,
hostel
it's-
in Barcelona because the hostel was the only thing with air conditioning.
yeah, all the Airbnbs, like none of the places had air conditioning. And I was like, I'm not staying
We refused.
without air conditioning.
Yeah. Oh,
But
no,
they're-
I can't sleep without. If it's hotter than 70 degrees in my house, I
Oh,
won't
yeah,
sleep.
exactly.
I'm pissed off.
Yeah, no. I can't do
71,
it.
my night's
Yeah,
ruined.
I was
Serious.
sweating
He's
my
like
ass
that
off.
too, and
Yeah.
he'll get like
Can you
angry.
grab me one of those? please?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's.
You want to try some of this tequila?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's do
This
it.
one right here. You guys ever seen this before?
Oh my gosh, yes.
Actually, we have.
This is. Wait, is this the one that's like?
You guys want to open it? I'll let you guys open it.
Sure.
I'll let you do it. Yeah, we.
Okay, actually,
I think we
this
tried.
is a good choice. You picked a really good one. We
Thank
had
you.
this one in Mexico on one of our trips.
That's where I got it from. I guess it all comes from there.
Yeah,
Huh?
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
This was always the one. Isn't this always the one they end with, Luke?
Yeah.
So
yeah,
this
it
one
is. It's a
tastes
really
like.
nice one.
This is the one that like tastes like Christmas. I feel like.
Are we
No,
sipping
no,
it? Or are
no,
we
it's not that one.
Or is this the really
shooting it?
nice?
I'm gonna sip it. It's not the one that
Or
tastes.
is, which one is this one?
This is just a. It's a
I
white
remember this
tequila,
one.
right? Is this a white tequila? Is that right?
I don't know.
It says
I thought
Posado.
I like silver tequila.
Silver,
And so
doesn't
that's what I was aiming for.
Yeah.
I don't think it is.
Oh, really? I'm fine with either one.
We're gonna
We're
find
gonna
out.
find out because
We're gonna
I
find out.
can't remember if this is the one that's like the cream one or if it's like the
It's not the
white
cream one. The cream one comes in the same company makes one. It's like
And this is a really cool bottle.
that makes one in like
Well,
a blue and
This is something I really liked about it. They're all hand painted.
yeah. It's pretty wild.
That is awesome.
Which one
Probably.
is it? Let me smell it. Smells good.
I do only have 2 shot glasses.
That's okay.
That's okay.
So-
I'll put a little bit in here.
Oh, these are cool glasses.
Those are cool.
Yeah, yeah, they are pretty cool. That's what I got.
Those are
'em.
fun.
Yeah.
It's the gold one.
It is. There you go, bub. Oh, actually, maybe you should pour it in the other ones. Not that I don't trust you.
I can't
babe,
pour
but
anything
It's
because
very
I spill.
tall.
So
Well, I'll probably spill too. I'm not worried about it.
Smells good.
yeah, it smells great.
Do we need ice? You guys need ice?
I personally do not, but
That's quite a bit of.
That's too much for me. Yeah, give me a small.
Oh yeah, I gotta pour yours too. I forgot.
Give me like this much.
Oh, I'm just gonna let you do it.
No,
Yeah.
I'm
Spill
gonna
it.
spill it.
Spill it if you need.
there you go.
I'm not worried about
But
it.
yeah, it's good stuff from what I remember. I haven't had it in a while, but
Yeah.
and we,
I've never drank it. I just shoot it. I've always shot it.
Really?
Yeah,
I mean,
never sipped on it.
That's good.
well, that one's yours there. That one
Oh, thank
slid to you is yours.
Oh, perfect.
It's even less. But yeah,
I do have
it's,
some club soda, which I'll probably end up mixing it with.
Yeah, you gotta try it first and then see. I might do the same. Okay,
But
cheers.
I can get us ice. Cheers. Cheers. Thank you guys for coming on this podcast too. I
Absolutely.
really appreciate
Thanks
it.
for having us.
Woo. I had some tequila last night.
It's tough
Oh gosh, it's good.
convincing
So
yourself the
good.
next actually is
It's really good.
yeah.
Do you like it?
Yeah, I like it.
It's a little better than Jose Cuervo.
Yeah, it goes down pretty smooth.
Yeah,
it's
it's a-
warm.
It-
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's warm.
I think
I see, I don't-
sipping wise,
I don't mind that
it's a good sipper one.
just
like, with
because
ice or-
I drink so much whiskey warm. I started making. I don't think this is illegal. I started making whiskey. Started making whiskey in my basement. So I've been drinking a lot of trying to get the taste right and everything. Been drinking a lot of warm liquor. So
Is
don't mind it.
doesn't whiskey have to age for so long?
it does, yeah. But the way that I have been doing it, you can. So basically, you put it in a whiskey barrel normally. So if you're a distillery, you have this gigantic barrel, and it takes a long time because there's so much whiskey in there that has to circulate around that charred barrel.
the surface area of the
Yeah.
barrel. Mhm.
So I don't make. I mean, I don't have a gigantic still to make a bunch of whiskey with. So the stuff that I make is, it comes out. I get like a couple jars, and then I toast wood chips or I char wood chips, like oak chips, and I put them in there. And the surface areas, there's so much more surface area compared to how much liquid there is that it ages quite a bit quicker. It never gets like a good 10-year aged bourbon is going to taste a lot different than what I can do in 3 months
Right.
in a jar. But it turns out respectably good.
Yeah, it's
and-
pretty good actually. I kind of thought too. Your first one, I was like, this is gonna be terrible, but it was really good.
Yeah. It's
He does like so much research about things before he even does them too. That like you had a pretty.
when I actually like doing them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If it's something I have to do, I don't research it at all.
Yeah. Yeah, I understand. You got to be passionate about
Yeah,
it.
exactly.
What got you into it? Just like whiskey? Sound
always-
fun or what?
I've always
Cheap?
well, there was a combination of that too. Yeah, I've always liked. Well, I started out with rum, but got into bourbon, and then I watched a Modern Marvels on whiskey when I was in college, and that always made me want to make some. So the first time I tried to do it was when I was still in college. Me and my cousin Scott went to someplace and got a pressure cooker and tried to rig one up in my parents' garage, and I was mostly scared of blowing up my parents' garage. So I was like, so I didn't pay a whole lot of attention to details on like actually the process and everything or how it worked. It turned out terrible.
Think about that.
Oh, well, my dad's he's not really a drinker anyway.
Was that a secret, or did they know?
No, they knew, but my dad was just a lot of head shaking, like I said, they're usually supportive, but he's like, he's like, you're 21 now. Can't you just buy whiskey? Wouldn't that be easier? I'm like, yeah, that's not really the point though.
Yeah.
But so then I didn't do it for a long time. And then last year we were in Branson because we were filling in for some friends of ours who had some sets down at Silver Dollar City that they needed coverage for. And so it was last December or November, and we were kind of just sitting there. It was Branson in the off season,
Well, you say that, but their Christmas season.
Well, it was
huge.
Christmas at Silver Dollar City, but
it was cold though, so it's not like we would do much outside.
Not like you can go out to the lake or anything. So I was just sitting there watching Master Distiller, which is like an offshoot of that ridiculous Moonshiners show.
Mm-hmm.
And the more I watched that, I'm like, I really should get back into that. So I got online and I bought a still and everything. I bought it off of Amazon and thought it was going to come like it looked in the picture, completed
like a still.
Yeah.
They sent out a bunch of sheets of copper and some solder.
You had to put it all together.
I remember getting that box and I'm like, wow, that is a very thin box. I called Luke and I was like, hey, hun, I don't think you're expecting this. But it's just a bunch of sheets of copper.
Yeah.
You literally had to solder it all together. And
I had to roll all the copper and solder it and put hammer all the pop rivets in and everything.
Oh,
they weren't even pop rivets; they were just rivets, copper rivets. So
that was a process.
Yeah, it was something else. But there, as always, when you put that much work into something and time, and it's something you're passionate about, it was kind of neat to get your first whiskey off of it and age it and it not suck right away,
So the first one was good.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll have to bring you some.
Yeah, I'm out. I haven't made any in a while, but it's, I would love to, because I don't know if if you've ever been to Fernway Distilling up in Herman. They're right down on the riverfront.
Oh, it used to be where Simon's used to be at.
Yeah.
Have you been?
I've been there. Yep.
Yeah.
Done their tasting and stuff for it.
Yeah. That's a buddy of ours place, Andrew Weiss and Sable. They run that together, and they have great cocktails and everything. But I've always been kind of jealous because we both like whiskey and we both used to talk about it. But he actually, went out, did it all right, and I was like,
great spot for it too.
Yeah, and I've always liked whiskey and stuff like that. So it was neat to see him do that, and it was just finally I was like, I just got to do it. And like I said, it's neat to just be able to put the time into it and have it turn out well.
Yeah.
I could see you guys in the future getting even bigger, and then all of a sudden now you guys have an of Sea and Stone whiskey.
I really would love to incorporate it. Yeah,
an end game thing. If we can do something like that, kind of have a VIP club for our fans that we can do a different one each month, and they can
We're
be
not
a
allowed
part
to
of it.
yet. Obviously, if I tried to sell any of it, that would be illegal, and I would never do anything illegal. But
long term, we could get a liquor license and do it.
Well, that's a pretty common thing, right?
Yeah,
a lot of musicians, a lot of famous people.
Well, the way a lot of this stuff gets distilled, now this is actually an exception, like this tequila, or really, if you find if you go to Fernway Distilling, they distill it there, your craft distilleries and stuff do it that way. Some of your higher end brands, but there are a few places in Indiana, gigantic factories basically, and they're just distilling constantly, and different big brands send them, here's our mash bill, we need this much distilled, and they end up with a lot of extra to the point they're distilling so much alcohol, they need people to slap their names on stuff.
Oh, really?
And so Bob Dylan, he has Heaven's Door and a couple other different whiskeys. That was a deal where they were looking for somebody to partner with to sell this stuff. And it's good whiskey, but it wasn't like Bob Dylan was tinkering with whiskey in his basement. and decided to do it. It's just like it's a
Someone came to
convenient
help.
marriage. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's how a lot of that stuff works. But I would love to have, you know, my own, or even, you know, partner with Fernway and
Yeah.
different people like that, because it fits well with our brand. It fits well with the type of music we play, and
Yeah,
we
we've
certainly
got-
go through enough of it. If I could, that was the other part of the motivation. I'm like, you know, we're going through a lot of whiskey here, and you know, in general, we make cocktails for friends, and
Yeah.
like we got quite a liquor budget, and if I could knock the whiskey out of that, of course, the first bottle of whiskey I had, a few people try it at Christmas, and they were like, my one cousin was like, yeah, it's pretty good. I was like, it's pretty good. It's like, that's the most expensive whiskey you've ever tasted. By the time
And is
you
it
add up-
expensive to make?
It's not expensive to make once you're set up, but you know, I had just bought that still. Like, copper is not cheap, and you know, by the time you buy that and your grain and just figuring all that out, your
And all
upfront
your
cost.
time in it.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's a $800 bottle of whiskey you're drinking right there. Probably didn't taste like
And then
it.
the
but-
more jars you make, the cheaper.
yeah,
it
the
gets.
cheaper it gets. You make it back up in volume. But
Yeah.
it's a fun thing to do, you know, and hopefully I'll get a little more time. We've been traveling so much, I have not been able to do it. It's a time-consuming thing, you know. You
Between
gotta-
I guess May, between like May and now, we've been home like 2 to 4 days a month.
yeah,
Whoa.
yeah. So
So that's why it took us so long to get here.
yeah, exactly.
Wow, that's crazy. So you guys just been out playing and stuff.
Yeah,
We've been
I mean,
all over. We just got back from Philly the other day. We flew out there for some college shows.
Yeah,
We've been doing that for the last 2 weeks, and
Yeah.
then between Silver Dollar City and Europe and just shows, it's been a great year to come back for music.
Mm-hmm.
Thank goodness, because it was a long time without that kind of passion and that kind of drive for live shows. That it just
yeah.
I'm glad
Did
we're
COVID
back.
like rekindle the fire at all?
Yes.
Or
Now
intensify it maybe? Maybe
Yeah.
not rekindle it, but intensify
you
it?
definitely had to kind of make a decision. Like, is this something you really want to stick with? Because it's time consuming and it can be expensive. But you know,
Probably wears on you too a little bit.
yeah,
Yeah.
Flying around,
not
being-
being home that much. It does. It's so nice to just sit on your own couch after being gone for a while and do something normal.
Yeah.
But you know, we signed up for all of it, so I never complain.
Yeah.
But the definitely, and it was kind of a catch-20. It did rekindle the fire, but at the same time, you know, when it kind of all went away for a while, you get into kind of a groove where I started working with my dad and my brother, and you know, they do different remodeling stuff, which
They work
isn't-
together?
Yeah. And so they, you know, it's fun. I mean, is it the type of work that, you know, it's physically taxing, but you know how it is. You get around like a group of guys and you're just kind of bullshitting and stuff, and it's fun, and you kind of get into a groove of like this normal life, and you know, next thing you know, you're like, I could do this, and like,
Yeah.
it's almost like you get into that groove, and then when music started back up, you know, it took a second where we're traveling. I'm like, oh yeah, this is super fun, because like I said, you know, there's always that I could do a lot of different things and be happy doing a lot of different things. But then once you do the thing that you really like to do, you're like, oh yeah,
That's the
this
stuff.
feels
Yeah.
right, you know.
Yeah, and I mean, there was also a little bit of just like having been home and just being used to that, to like, how did we do all this traveling before? Like living out of a suitcase, and like you get home, you have a day to do all the laundry, you leave the next day. Like that took a little bit of just like, man, we were just, I don't know, we were in a rhythm before, and you had to get used to it again.
Yeah, you
and-
get like a tolerance built up.
yeah.
for
So,
sure.
Well, like the whole, I know what you're saying with the like working, like actually just physically working, and you know,
Yeah.
like I see how, because I'm actually really grateful that I had to work really hard to earn everything, because
Yeah.
there's a lot, because I was out of body, I was a painter, like I did that for 10 years, and
a lot.
and I loved it, but I did it for so long, I realized like it wears you down, you get tired of doing it, and it just becomes repetitive, and there was no joy. Like I got in the cars because I love cars, and I loved, like, it was an art to me. You know, you got to block them down and paint them, make them real shiny and pretty. But then it got to the point where I could paint a car probably with my eyes closed. I was literally listening
Wow.
to books and podcasts and listening to music, and I'm not even focused on painting the car anymore. It was just routine. Like I could do it in my sleep, and I just realized I was like, it's not really what I want to do. Like I wasn't really chasing anything new. I wasn't being fulfilled every day.
Yeah.
And so I haven't worked on a car in like well, I've owned my business now for my gym for 14 months, a little over a year.
Wow.
And I haven't worked on a car basically since. I did a little bit of work for the body shop that I was working for after it, just because they needed a painter. But sometimes I look back and I'm like, man, maybe I think I would enjoy to do it again. But then I remind myself like, oh, how repetitive it got, and I'm like, I am really grateful for the life I have right now.
Yeah.
And like, because I'm doing stuff all the time that's new, fulfilling. I'm learning, and I'm staying satisfied.
Yeah.
Because that was my problem in body shop. It was just I wasn't being fulfilled anymore in
Yeah,
life.
purpose
Yeah.
and passion.
Yeah,
Anything.
And
I
that's-
felt like I had no purpose.
That's so hard, especially if you were to do that for your whole life. Like it's
couldn't
draining,
imagine.
Yeah.
draining. So
Couldn't
you gotta
imagine.
like always have something that gives you that
Yeah.
drive, whether it's like work
Yeah.
itself or something on the side. You
Yeah.
know?
You can turn any job into an assembly line job. I
Monotony.
mean, no matter what it is, it can get monotonous. Even music. After you drive for, if you're not challenging yourself, if you're not, for us maybe it's songwriting or trying something new out on stage and seeing how people react to it. You could go and, I mean, there are people who do in any industry. They just go about it and. This one way that you do something makes you money, so you just keep doing it. And but man, it's tough. I mean, that's why people end up with hobbies or a boat at the lake. And I never want to get to a point where 2/7 of my week is what I enjoy, and the other 5 days is like that's I'm not good at math. I don't know what the percentage is, but I don't want that small percentage of my life to be what I actually enjoy, and everything else is just me waiting to get back to that.
Yeah.
Even if that, and it does make life harder sometimes because you're having to challenge yourself, but I think people really miss out on how, they miss out on life. They miss out on in this like mad dash to try and avoid having to work hard at things that like that hard work doesn't necessarily have to be hard work if it's something that you're passionate about, and it's so much more fulfilling. I mean, you go to bed tired, you usually feel good about yourself.
Yeah. Oh, it's such a good feeling whenever
Yeah.
you just I lay down in bed and I'm just so worn out
You got
from
a
working
bunch
all
of
day.
shit done all day.
Yeah, you just feel fulfilled.
Yeah.
You're just like, oh, yeah, and you sleep better too when you're working hard.
Yeah.
Like if you haven't worked hard all day or all week or all month, and you're trying to lay down in bed at night and your mind's just racing and you're just tossing and turning, it's probably because you didn't work hard enough.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like I remember working a 8-hour job, 40 hours a week, and then doing houses on the side and still making time to go to the gym. And I was like, that's when I felt good.
You're
Like,
worn
that's-
I feel
out.
like
You're
peak,
like, this is-
I'm zeroed in. I can do anything
Yeah,
right now.
because I think better too when I'm very active. Like
Yeah.
this morning before you guys came out, I was like, I got to get up and go to the gym. And like I went out last night, had some drinks.
It's very ambitious of you.
Yeah,
I didn't do that.
And well, I just knew that I was going to be. I knew my energy would be better.
Yeah.
I knew my brain would be thinking better because I would have some pre-workout in me and just got some
Yeah.
blood flowing and stuff like that. So I was like, I gotta, like I slept in a little bit, but I was like, I gotta get up, make sure I get to the gym, and just get some blood flowing.
Yeah.
Makes me feel a lot better.
Makes a huge
It is.
difference.
It does. It's really important too. I mean, especially like in the music realm of it too, is like our job is partially like just being on stage, and that performance aspect of it is like a workout. So if you're not like necessarily fit, your vocals aren't going to be as good because your lungs aren't as good with the endurance of singing and moving around on stage and being entertaining and like doing all of that. So
Yeah.
I mean,
Do you
we
guys
need to work
hype
out
yourself
more.
up before it? Like, what do you guys do to prepare for a show?
I hype myself
Well-
up. I try not to take a nap because that'll do it.
Yeah.
But like, I don't really get. We don't really get hyped up because the other thing is, if you listen to our music, it's pretty clear. It's not like we're not like jumping up on the bar and like. Generally speaking, I mean, some of it's upbeat.
Yeah, you're not
but
hard rock, right?
Yeah,
No.
it's it's a little more on the chill side for sure. And
But you gotta get in the zone.
Yeah, it's like
What do you
I
do to get
do.
yourself in the zone?
Like I feel like I have to kind of get in the zone, but that's just me.
Have a few drinks.
Yeah.
We usually like have a drink.
Is that to relax you though?
Yeah,
Just,
well,
like
For
calm
him?
nerves.
loosens
him,
me
for
up.
sure.
I loosens my tongue up on stage because I can get my head in front of people, particularly with music, but and not so much with the performing music. I know I'm good at that, so that isn't a problem. But it's like if you're in front of people and you're not sure of exactly what to say or what you can say, because sometimes
Oh, you're talking
You
about
get-
talking to the crowd.
Yeah, like-
that's
which
the
is
part
sometimes
of it.
the most important part of it because that's what creates like a conversation between you and your audience.
Yeah.
And if you're like explaining the songs, like I know I impress this upon you all the time, and you've gotten so good at it. Like he's come a long way from that. Just in the fact that like when you're telling that story, they're gonna have more of an emotional reaction because you're giving them kind of what that song is about, and then they're hearing the lyrics and everything's clicking. And if they relate to that in any way, that just brings you guys into this like sweet, like one body type.
No,
Like
you're not
I don't
just
even.
singing to them. You're
Yeah.
having, they're getting a little window into
Yeah.
what you were thinking, and that definitely helps.
Yeah, you're like all
I
one.
The
definitely think
relationship.
so.
It's about
Which-
building, like most businesses, you're building a relationship. And, you know,
that's the
part of that's a
best
sense
feeling.
of humor, too. And I think that's where I get into my head, like, you know, I'm like, I don't want to say something that's going to piss a bunch of people off, which I could
It
easily
doesn't matter.
do, you know, but at the end of the day, you know, if I have a couple drinks, I'm like, you know what, we'll just shoot from the hip a little bit on this. And usually people are, you know, you get out of your own head and you realize, okay, people do have a good sense of humor and about different things. And
I feel like if they're coming to a concert
yeah.
of some kind, a show of some kind, they're going to be a little more optimistic.
Yeah.
Like you're not going to go to a comedy show and listen to like Tom Segura or something
Yeah.
like that and just be like super critical on them.
Yeah.
Like they're
you would
gonna-
hope not.
You hope
Yeah.
not.
Yeah, I guess there's probably a few people that do.
And then see, that's where I get mad because I'm like, okay, funny guy,
have you
yeah.
had hecklers?
Not so much with the music stuff. No. I can't really think of because it's sort of
Let's
one
talk about this. What's your guys' worst show?
worst. Show?
Worst experience at a show.
Let's see. What do you think is the worst one? It's funny. This is fun because we usually get asked the best show, and I always have an answer to that. And then I'm like,
Yeah, I don't
worst
care
show.
about the best show.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm like, what was the worst show? Do you think? God, that's hard.
Have you not had that bad of an experience?
I mean, we've had like several bad shows, but I'm trying to think of like if there's one that hits the icing on the cake.
Like
Can you-
anybody throwing anything on stage? Ever
Never
been
had anything thrown at me. I'm grateful.
booed
Yeah.
off stage? Ever had anyone get in a fight, drug off, anything like that? Like,
No, there's been a few crowds rowdier than others. Honestly, you know, for me, the shows that I dislike the most are where it's just like where the crowd's just not into it from you know, maybe it's you know, sometimes we'll play like corporate stuff or things where you're there to make money, but it's not necessarily like people came out to your show to see you.
it's not
and
exactly
that's-
your audience.
Yeah, and that's
or like
where it's
I guess
hard.
you could kind of say like wineries sometimes, or
that type of stuff where
Really,
you-
a winery?
Yeah, it depends on
the crowd.
depends on the crowd, but yeah,
Or breweries or something. It only if the atmosphere. It all depends on the atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
Like what is kind of as people drink, it always gets loosened up.
Yeah.
But if it's like a big bachelorette party or something, like we're not necessarily gonna be playing, you know, like those songs that would
Yeah.
like be like what
So
a
that's-
girl
yeah,
wants.
yeah,
You know, I'm not
that's-
gonna play that.
yeah.
But
that's where it gets tough. And truly, I don't think I've never been booed off stage. And there's, you know, the thing about like singing for a living, if you're good at it, which I like to think we are, bar none, people can, if they don't like any of the songs, they don't like any of the stuff, they can still say, you guys sounded great. Like if you sing well, you always have that. And that's one area where other forms of entertainment, like stand-up comedy, where like when you don't have that crutch, like if a dude's just talking and you don't find him funny, there's no like, oh, you sounded good up there. It's like
Yeah.
that I came here to laugh and
That's
I
it.
didn't. So
Yeah.
obviously you suck at what
Yeah.
you do like that. And we don't have to deal with that, thankfully.
yeah, we're kind of lucky in that regard because
But there are those shows where even when people are like, you guys sounded great, it's like, yeah, I'm sure we sounded fine, but I noticed that you weren't really like paying any attention to it. So obviously we weren't entertaining enough. And that's probably the shows that stick with me the most where I'm like, yeah, they weren't into that. And sometimes it's because we didn't entertain well enough. And sometimes it's just because, you know, people showed up and they're like, yeah, we like metal.
Yeah.
You guys weren't metal.
Yeah, and we're-
So I
and
was
we're not that, you
well,
know,
you know.
Sure.
But again, that's why the shows where when it's an Obscene Stone show and people are buying tickets to see us, those are the best
They're our
shows.
favorite.
Yeah.
I mean, people know the lyrics. They sing back to you. Like, those are always the best. It's kind of, the other stuff that's kind of like the money stuff that sometimes is awesome and you don't even expect it. And sometimes it's just like,
That's probably where you
draining.
guys find some new fans too, though.
Yeah, you
exactly.
definitely do. Yeah.
yeah, you always have to do those too, because that's how you just build your numbers and you build like that connection with people. So, I mean, I always think if there's like one person that comes up to me after a show and is like, this song really meant something to me, you're like, that's one more person. I'm fulfilled. You know,
Yeah.
I don't need everyone to like freak out about it in a cold room. I mean, it is probably my favorite when we play a cold room and the whole room is like hot, because like when I say cold, just like a cold audience that doesn't know us or know any of our music and they actually respond.
That is nice.
That's kind of like the best thing you could have, because you're like, no one knows me, no one knows a song, no one cares about me at all. And if you bring them warm or hot, you're like, all right, we did
Yeah.
the right
So that
thing.
I bet that
Yeah,
does
that must
feel
be good.
amazing.
Yeah.
I mean,
it
that's
feels-
like you go from 0 to 100,
Yeah.
and that's great. But that doesn't happen all the time.
Right.
Sure.
Yeah, but the feeling of like you get done with a song that means a lot to you, and you look around and people at like a corporate gig or something are just like still just having their conversation about things like
Some
oh,
people are
that
just weird
sucked.
with music, though.
Yeah.
You know, like there's some people that can't listen to country music or can't listen to rock
Yeah.
music. Or,
Yeah.
like they only like one genre.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't understand that. I just love music.
Yeah.
Like,
Same.
I don't have to know a single lyric and I can enjoy it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I can just be like, man, these guys sound good.
Yeah.
And it's just like
Yeah.
you get the vibe off of it
Right.
and you can just enjoy the music.
I'm like that too.
Yeah, that's how I am for sure. And honestly, being a performer, anytime someone's on stage doing something, like they're gonna have my attention.
Yeah, music live
Yeah.
is even 10 times better.
Yeah, and
too.
it's just I just know I know what they're dealing with and everything. It's
Yeah.
like, look, they're willing to get up there and do it, and so I'm gonna give them my best shot. But I don't expect people, if they're going out to Stonehill on a weekend on their bachelorette party, if we're out there playing some sad country song, I don't expect you to on your bachelorette party be like,
Sure.
woo,
Yeah.
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
sorry, we're not playing Shania Twain. I get it.
Yeah. Well, how many songs do you guys have now?
Oh gosh.
How many albums do you guys?
We have so many songs that you can't count them that are not out.
Yeah.
But we have one full album out. It's anywhere you get your music: Amazon, Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube.
Literally everywhere, huh?
Everywhere, anywhere you type
What's
of
the name
Sea
of
and
this album?
Stone. So that's our first album, which is self-titled of Sea and Stone.
Yeah.
And then
Oh,
we
okay.
had so just our name. And then from there, we've done like a bunch of singles. Probably, our most successful single came out in 2019, I think, right? I Love You Goodbye. That's the one that's tied to the music video out on YouTube. So if you hear the song and you want to feel even sadder, we always say, well, go to YouTube, watch that music video.
If you don't like sad music, you're a messed up person. It's not that I want to be sad, but like everyone, like that's why I love country music. Like there's relatable stuff to it, but like it's okay. Like that's an emotion everybody has. It's
Yeah.
okay to like. I think it actually makes me feel more okay whenever I listen to music like that, because I know that there's other people in the world that are like that.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what we're trying to reach too. It's like you're not alone. And any of the things you've gone through, for that one, it's like a breakup song. I mean, most people have been through that. If not, awesome. But if you
They
have,
will eventually.
yeah,
If you've never had to experience it, that's crazy.
That's
to never
pretty
experience-
wild.
Yeah.
Well, it's
But-
just not a full human experience yet.
Yeah.
Then. But and that's what I think part of being successful at whatever you do, but particularly when you're creating stuff and you put it out, you kind of got to know who you are and what you're about. And we know that we're not the music that you're going to be playing. If you have a party at your house on Friday night, actually sometimes friends will put our music on at a party, and I'm like, please turn this
Is
off.
it cringy
Yeah,
to,
yeah.
to hear yourself?
Like you and I both know this is not why I wrote this. I didn't write this song to entertain everyone at our party here.
Yeah.
Like thank you for the support, but like we were at the pool one time in Mexico at a resort where our friends' parents know the folks real well, and they went over and they're like, play this music. And I was like, come on, like we're at a pool in Mexico ripping shots of tequila. Like,
Yeah.
I love you guys, but nobody wants to hear this. And I understand that. You just have to know that what you're doing. And for us, that, the role that I think we try and have our music play for other people is the same role it plays for us, because we're like happy-go-lucky people. Like, it's very easy for us to convey happiness. It's harder to, to be sad, to get in touch with that side. That's what's hard for me.
To share the emotional and to share the like pain. Like, that's something we kind of don't share or show unless it's in our music. And so that kind of gives you like two realms of us as people, and
and that's and we understand that that's our role on the people. Like, no, you're not gonna play it Friday night, but Sunday morning, when it's just like a chill Sunday morning, maybe you're playing it then.
And that's just a car ride.
Yeah, car ride. It's
home
like that's where we fit, and you just have to be okay
Monday
with
through
that.
Friday when you're dealing with life.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because this whole at the resort or partying on the weekend, that's such a short period of people's life. Like that crap is like probably maybe 20% of someone's life, but there's still all that other part of people's lives where they got all kinds of stuff that are really going on. When they're at the bars drinking and going all this stuff, they're not themselves. That's not who they really are most of the time. Like most of the time, people have stuff that they're going through and need music like that.
Yeah, and that's what
and that's the highlight reel, which you can also say about social media. It's usually the highlight reel.
Yeah,
you're not every other day on a day-to-day basis. That's when you're dealing with life. You're dealing with great things. You're dealing with crap things. You're dealing with work, the monotony. Like, those are kind of the times that really structure you and grow you as a person. And then, like, the highlights, so fun. Like, you know, you get to do that, and that's awesome. But ideally, we try to fit into that daily life of what are you going through. And
I think
we've got some stuff that's upbeat, too. I mean,
we do. And I've more, like, lately. But it's just, and I feel like sometimes in music, and I'm like, man, we got to write a song that, like, college kids are going to go crazy to. And it's like, well, that's not our audience. And we can't do everything. Can't be everything to everyone. We just have to. We do what we do, and there's some melancholy in our songs, and we have some upbeat stuff. But we're not the Weeknd,
Right?
And let him do that. And I understand that, and I feel like a lot of times people in general, because the radio is so much of that. Because people also, it's like easy listening on your way to work. People aren't trying to get like. They don't want to show up to work like, I just went through something really emotional on my ride here. Like, shit, I've been through the ringer.
But I think that, there's some like 90s country that I still listen to that's, like some sadder songs that I can relate to. Yeah. And that probably people will be able to relate to for the rest of their life. But how many freaking like The Weeknd? I couldn't name a single one of his songs. Yeah. And those songs they hit good. They make people feel good for a little bit of time. And then they die off.
Those aren't the songs that the songs that people bring up. Like, what's your song that means a lot to you? It's the stuff that talks about real
what's
things.
Your favorite song of all time?
Yeah,
exactly. Like it's like mine would not be Post Malone's whatever.
Right?
I don't know.
Yeah, it's not that I don't like it or don't listen to it, but the stuff that the big impactful stuff is usually that type of thing.
It's got to have meaningful lyrics.
Yeah,
that's what I love about music.
Same.
I mean, I really enjoy music, but if I can find some lyrics that I can really relate to, I mean, it would take me all over the place.
Yeah. Well, then you're perfect for us, because that's our main thing is the lyrics. Like, if anything, our songs all start with the lyrics, and everything else builds around it to emphasize those.
Yeah.
Because
I like a story too. Yeah. That's what I love about country music. There's a lot of songs with a story in it.
Yeah, for sure.
You guys ever heard Three Wooden Crosses?
Yeah.
That's an awesome song.
It's a
great ballad.
Like songs like that, like that actually have meaning to it, a story to it.
Yep.
And it's just all around just amazing music.
Yeah. And that's definitely something that's prevalent in country and folk music, is telling that story. And like I said, pop music has a place, and I never knock anything like that. People are like, pop music sucks. I'm like, well, it's the most listened to music in the world, like pop country even. It's like, I'm not gonna knock it. Obviously it has an appeal, but it's not what I listen to, and it doesn't.
Yeah, I just can't listen to Luke Bryan.
Yeah.
Sorry, Luke Bryan, man.
Yeah.
I feel like, honestly, Luke Bryan is like a team, like a big building in Nashville, like at the very top, had a big desk, and they're like, we could probably make an artist.
Yeah.
Like, we don't need someone to come to us. We'll just make someone. And they found this dude, big old fat dude. Sorry, Luke.
Yeah.
But, he's just I think they just probably picked him out, and they're like, hey, you want to be rich? We'll make you rich. We'll make the songs. We'll do all the producing. We'll do everything for you, and you just do what we tell you.
Yeah.
And then I just feel like it's all just like Nashville produced
It is.
pop country. Like there's none of his songs that I'm like, that was really good. That really touched my heart. Like
Yeah.
I just
No, it's
can't
not
get
that
into
thing.
them.
That's actually, we met the guy who, you ever heard Luke Bryan's song, I think it's Luke Bryan, Drinking Beer and Wasting Bullets. Drinking beer and wasting bullets.
No, dude, I can't listen
Yeah.
to anything Luke
Dude.
Bryan unless it's on the radio. And most of the time, I'm like, God damn it, it's freaking Luke Bryan. I'll just switch the station.
It's about like, it's probably about deer hunting. I don't even know if I've ever heard it, honestly, but
I don't know.
Sounds
know.
like it's about drinking beer and
yeah,
wasting bullets.
bullets.
Yeah.
Yeah. Literally, it was, we talked to this guy who wrote that song, and a truck, he was driving from where he lives, south of Nashville, into Nashville for a songwriting session. That's what he does for a living. And a truck pulled out in front of him and cut him off. And it was one of those like stickers that you get at like the county fair. You know, they have like
Bumper
you know,
stickers, are they called?
Like the square ones? Like rectangle?
it was like, you know, you put on the back of your truck, like somebody pissing on a Ford symbol or
Oh,
something.
yeah.
Like the bumper
And it
sticker.
said drinking beer and wasting bullets.
Oh, wow.
And the dude said when he did that, he knew like that's a pop
Country
country song.
Yep.
And he's like, he literally told his wife like, hey, we're going to have another
And he probably
hit
made a
country
lot of
song.
money
He
off
did.
of it,
too.
He made a lot of money
Well,
off it.
and I think
But
the
it means
thing-
nothing.
Can't hate him on
yeah,
that.
exactly.
And probably what you feel with the pop country, which is kind of what we feel too. Again, not knocking anything, but it's all this structure. They know what hits. And these writers know what hits, and it's great for them because they make the money and they're not necessarily having to deal with the spotlight or anything, which is a good thing. And I mean, you could say it's pro and cons, but like that's a structure. They know exactly how to hit it. You do what that is, you send it off, somebody buys it, and there you go. And
Yep.
so it feels, at least for me or for you potentially, it feels robotic. It feels
Yeah.
like the same thing and same.
It doesn't feel genuine. It
Yeah,
that's the
doesn't
yeah.
biggest
feel
thing.
like anyone's putting their heart into it.
Yeah, that's
And sometimes they're not because
And,
they're like,
and
hey,
you can
this is
feel
gonna hit.
that.
Yeah.
That's a feeling that you get. You can
Exactly.
actually, yeah. There's something about that for sure.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And that's what we try and do is, you know, put our little bit of ourselves in it.
Mm-hmm.
And
Well, who makes you guys music videos? Because I watched "I Love You Goodbye," and that is like crispy good. Because like like doing this podcast, and I do YouTube videos like on video games, and
Yeah.
I've done all commentary and all kinds of stuff. And I just enjoy making content.
Yeah.
I really do. Like I started making content for my gym every single day.
That's awesome.
And like in the past, I started a month ago. In the past
Mm-hmm.
month, I'm up almost 200% on everything, likes, views, everything.
Yay.
Like it really
That's
did
awesome.
make a difference. And then I also, like I used to like, what do I do? Like I
Mm-hmm.
don't even know what to make. Like I knew I enjoyed making content, but I didn't really like. I was like I just didn't have an idea, so I just didn't do it. And now I just do it. And now that I'm doing it more, it comes to me super easy.
That's awesome.
And so I really enjoy it. And so, but I like, I'm so particular with everything, like almost
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
OCD.
Ooh, that's
I do
good.
have a little OCD. But I watch you guys' videos and I'm like, this is crystal clear, like
Yeah.
really crisp. Like any other big band, if they had a music video, you guys were right in there with.
well, those
with it.
people who did
Well,
that
yeah.
they're So it's Smash Cut Films,
Mm-hmm.
and they're actually based out of L.A. But a lady we work with, she hooked us up with them, and we went out we were at a music festival in San Diego, and when we were out there, we shot it.
Yeah.
Actually, her cousin was living in San Diego at the time for
they
a
were-
job.
Yeah, and they were about to move, and so their house was like all packed up. That's in "I Love You Goodbye," that kind of cabin-esque looking house
Yeah.
that we were in. Was where they were living, and it worked perfect because it was bare bones, which is what that video needed.
Yeah.
Then we found this really cool spot, like the concrete room with the windows and the rain. It was like rainy in San Diego, which like
Hardly
never
ever happens.
happens.
Unless we're
And
there.
it was
Rains
perfect.
everywhere we go.
Yeah, for
Yeah, I
our
didn't even
video.
think about it
Yeah.
like raining or like
Yeah.
how you guys had to play all that stuff into it too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so Ernie, he's just awesome, and
Yeah.
he like Smash Cut Films. They're incredible. I'd love to
Yeah.
do it again. They had kind of the whole idea, and they helped us through it, especially being our first music video.
Oh, that
We were
was
like-
your first one.
Yeah,
So good.
we were like, how do we do this?
Yeah.
What do we do?
You guys
He's like,
killed it on it. Absolutely. If you guys
Thank
never,
you.
if anyone's listening to the podcast, you guys never listen to that video, go watch it.
Yeah.
Like it's
Thank you.
really good.
You're gonna be sad.
Thank
That's what we're
you.
trying to do. So
It's all right to be sad
Yeah,
every
it's
now.
okay.
It's okay to be sad
Just-
every
yeah.
now and then. Like,
I
watch it
agree.
on. That's why I tell people watch it on
Like
Watch it on a Sunday.
I'll hang out with no, screw that. Like if you're drinking beer, go listen to it. Like who cares? Like just listen to it right now. It's okay.
Thank
like
you.
I can go from like I'll be drinking beer with my friends on the weekends and stuff, and there's just like Three Wooden Crosses is one of those songs I really like. And I'm like play that song. They're like that's sad. I don't want to be sad. And I'm like it's a good song.
Yeah.
Play it. Like we can
We'll
go
play-
back to freaking
Yeah, we'll play
whatever you
drinking
want
beer
after
and
that.
wasting bullets right after it.
Yeah,
promise.
it's okay to like just get into your emotions for a
Yeah.
second.
yeah.
Okay, so can we wrap this up? One, I gotta pee. Two,
Yeah.
we're an
Yeah.
hour and 40 minutes
I was gonna
into
say we
it.
gotta
Oh
be
my gosh, we
into
can
it for
talk
a
your
while.
ear off. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
'cause we-
Yeah, no,
we
I'm
can talk
perfectly
forever.
fine
Yeah.
with it, but it is for every minute that I record, it's 2 minutes to edit it.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So I,
You're sitting here thinking here, you're like, oh my
No,
gosh,
no,
what
I'm
have
not-
I gotten myself
I'm
into?
not like that, but I
Yeah.
just think about like, I'm like, I
Yeah.
try to keep my videos around an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but before you guys go, can I get you guys to sign my thing?
for sure.
Yeah.
Put of Sea and Stone, and then both of you guys sign it. Sign wherever. This side's kind of
love
empty
it.
over here. Everybody's
Yeah.
signing over
We'll go
there
over
because that's
there.
where they sit.
We'll
so
come
sign over
around.
here, please.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go
Oh.
pee while you guys do it, and then by
All
the
right.
time I'm done.
That's
All right.
perfect. Thanks for having
Hey,
us.
Yes, thank you guys so much for
Nah,
coming
man, it
out.
was a
I
blast.
really
Yeah.
appreciate it.
It was so
Seriously,
fun.
Anytime at all.
seriously.
It's good to see you, man.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think it was a great podcast.
Me
Indeed.
too.
I think